Well, hey, boys and girls, thank you for joining me for Stories with Miss Debbie. We're reading Hank the Cowdog and Monkey Business. We are about to do chapter 5 today. I will tell you that this is got about 10 or 12 chapters in it, so we're not going to finish it this week. We'll be on it again next week, but anyway, we're going to find out today what is in that big red box for sure. So here we go, chapter 5. A stranger emerges from the box. As soon as possible, I sent Drover on a mission to patrol the eastern quadrant of the ranch headquarters. He didn't want to go and came up with his usual excuses. His leg hurt, his sinuses were bothering him, and there was no particular reason for going on patrol in the light of day. On the last score, he happened to be right. What he didn't know was that I wanted to get rid of him for a while because, shall we say, I had some other business to attend to. When he was out of sight, I turned to the west and went streaking away from headquarters out into the horse pasture. By that time, I had begun conducting a serious debate within the inner sanctum of my mind. Did I want to release the monkey or did I not? Or to phrase it another way, was there actually a monkey in the box or was there not? For you see, if there was no monkey in the box, the question of whether or not to release him became moot. I suppose it is moot. The question became moot. Therefore, the logical sequence of events would be for me to determine, I think you get the drift. I reached point X very shortly after leaving headquarters that is, and found the box exactly where we had left it. In other words, it hadn't moved. I approached it with caution. I sniffed it out, barked at it, and circled it 3 times. With each circle, it brought me closer. At last, satisfied that it wasn't going to move or spring on me or do anything of a suspicious nature, I spoke to it. The voice you're hearing belongs to Hank the Cowdog, head of ranch security. You are trespassing on my ranch, which means that you've gotten yourself into some serious trouble. If you are in there and can hear my voice, I demand that you come out immediately and identify yourself. If you're not in there, you may disregard this message. I lifted my ears to full alert position and waited. At first, I heard nothing. Then a scratching sound. Yes, a certain scratching sound, as though someone or something were scratching on the inside of the alleged box. Did it scare me? Well, a little bit. Might as well admit it. Okay, yes, maybe it scared me. A little bit. But after running backwards for 20 or 30 yards, I regained my poise and approached it again. I'll repeat the message one more time. I said in my firmest voice, we have your box surrounded. There's no chance of escape or any other kind of mischief. You will come out of the box and identify yourself at once. More scratching from inside the box, and oh yes, the hasp. Let me pause here to point out that your heavy boxes, such as the type used to transport circus animals, often have a device on the lid called a hasp. Hasp is a technical term. You've probably not run into it before, but we use it all the time in the security business. A hasp secures the lid to the box, see? And until I removed the wooden peg from the eye of the hasp, the lid would not open. Okay, we had gotten down to the meat of the heart, the core of the meat, the heart of the core, the central issue in the whole deal. Did I want to open the door and release the monkey, or whatever it was, onto my ranch? If you fooled around with geometry, you know that there are 3 sides on a pyramid, 3 legs on a triangle, 4 legs on a donkey, and 2 sides to every question. Before moving any closer to the box, I pondered both sides of this particular question. On one side, we had yes. Immediately across from it, on the other side, we had no. Yes and no are not only spelled differently, but they don't mean the same thing. In fact, they are diabolically opposed. Thrown together in a small space, they will fight until only one emerges the winner. Hence, by simple logic, it followed that I could not possibly decide both yes and no on the same question. It had to be one or the other. For several minutes, the argument raged back and forth in my mind. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, no. As you can see, the argument began to tilt in the favor of yes, being a three-letter word, carried exactly 1/3 more weight than no, which was a two-letter word. The longer the argument raged, the more weight accumulated on the yes side, until at last the scales of justice could no longer resist the weight of reason, and the balance tipped in the favor of yes. Oh, and there was one other small factor. The letters on the side of the box, it said, "Do not open this box." I've never taken orders from a box, and I never will. No box tells Hank the Cowdog what he can do on his own ranch. I marched forward, hopped my front legs on top of the device, and proceeded to remove the wooden peg from the hasp. At that moment, I was greeted, if that's the proper word, by the thunder of hooves. It caught me completely by surprise. I mean, it sounded like a whole herd of horses was coming out of that box. Oh, I was in the horse pasture, so to speak, and so it was natural that, well, what I'm driving at here is that the horses had seen me over in their pasture and had come thundering over to check things out. They are curious brutes, you see, and very snotty and possessive about their pasture. They have never recognized my jurisdiction in their territory, and they seldom pass up a chance to torment me when I enter it. I may have mentioned this before, but I don't like horses at all, and I have every reason to suppose that they don't like dogs either. Well, here they came, snorting, bucking, laughing, and grinning, with those big, ugly, awkward, green-stained teeth of theirs. I'd drawn the whole crowd. Pie, Casey, Chief, Cookie, Happy, Deuce, Frisco, Calypso, Bonnie, Bonita, Lightning, every stinking horse on the ranch. And before I could run, they had me surrounded. The first to speak was Casey, the smartest Aleck of all the smart Alecks. "Say, puppy dog, you in the wrong place, and you fixin' to wish you was in the right place." They all got a big laugh out of that. "We got a law against dogs in the horse pasture, and son, you have broke the law." To which I made a brilliant and stinging reply. "Oh, yeah? You know what we do when we catch puppy dogs on our side of the fence? We tough, son. We tear up a dog like a Dixie cup." I tried a different approach. "Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, and we love it, too." And now, at that very precise moment, the lid on the box flew open, and a hairy little man in a red fez and a red jacket popped out and screamed and waved his arms at the horses and jumped on my back. Two things happened real quick. First, 14 head of saddle horses dropped their heads, lifted their ears, widened their eyes, and snorted and headed for the south end of the pasture in a dead run. Second, I did exactly the same thing, heading in the opposite direction. I figured that anybody who was dangerous enough to scare 14 head of horses didn't belong on my back or anywhere close. I ran, I bucked, I twisted, I barked. I did everything I could think of to get him off of me. But he must have been a professional bronc rider, because I couldn't shake him loose. Not only did he have a good grip with his legs, but he was also using my ears for a bridle rein. I bucked until I couldn't buck any more, and ran until I couldn't run another step. I barked until I was completely out of breath, and at that point, fellas, I knew I'd been beat, and that I belonged to that bronc riding son of a gun in a red hat. I stopped to catch my breath. Okay, you win. I surrender. I don't know who you are, pal, but you sure taking the fire out of this old dog. He climbed off my back and he said something in a strange voice. Ee, ee. I noticed that he had a tail, a wide mouth, kind of a monkey-looking face, fingers and thumbs on his feet, and come to think of it, if you'd taken away his coat and his hat, he would have looked a lot like you probably thought he was a hairy little man in a red jacket and a fez, who bore a passing resemblance to a monkey. I might have made that mistake too, had I not been armed with the stern discipline of a trained observer. He was a monkey. See, not a man at all. I had suspected there for a second he did look a little bit. At last I had cleared up the mystery. As I had surmised, the box had contained a circus monkey, that is, and the next step was to open lines of communication with the little brute and to establish whether I was working for him or if he was working for me. That was kind of an important question, you see. So that's the end of chapter 5. So we found out it was a monkey. So I wonder, do you think that the monkey's going to be in charge, or is Hank going to be in charge? Hank's pretty bossy, and he likes to be the boss, but I don't know. That monkey had him going for a minute. So y'all come back next week, and we're going to do some more chapters of Hank and the Cowdog and Monkey Business. Hope y'all have a great weekend, and I will see you guys Monday.